Hello, everyone. I am so delighted to have Trudy Bateman again with me today. Last time we spoke about why strengths are an essential element to understand yourself better, to develop your career potential, and why they are important in career transition. Today, we're going to talk more specifically about how to sell yourself through strength. Trudy is the director of Strength Profile at Capfinity. She's a coach, author, and also a speaker. So I'm delighted to have Trudy back today. Thank you, Trudy, for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
And let's get going with some practical tips of how to sell yourself, because today, with this social media, we are constantly selling ourselves through LinkedIn and Facebook and socials, but also how do we sell ourselves through CVs, cover letters, and so on and so forth, with the help of the Strength Profile.
Yeah. Great, thank you. I think probably the first thing, just let's all say it together, selling yourself is so hard. Most people will probably feel quite sick at the thought of it. We stare at a blank piece of paper, don't we? We can have other people, when we think about humility, is the #1 strength in the world, okay? So we can recognize other people, but we cannot recognize ourselves very well. So let's just acknowledge that selling ourselves is hard. So we've given it a title, selling yourself, almost to jolt you into that reaction of like, oh, it's so difficult, but it doesn't have to be, because the most important thing is how do I do it? Let's add on to that. How do I sell myself authentically? How do I sell myself in a way that is genuine and works for me? So I think, and when we think about strengths, that's the combination there, because as you say, most of us, whether it's social, whether it's marketing, whether we are job hunting, or we all need to be out front of house, if you like, in what we're doing. And I think, starting with I like editing. Most people would prefer to edit than they would to start with a blank sheet of paper, and your strengths language can help you with that framework to begin with. So, Annalise, what's like a couple of your top strengths?
Curiosity. And
curiosity and growth. So we've not practiced this, so we've just thrown this out there. So curiosity is all about sort of finding solutions by asking questions and digging around for knowledge, and you always got a question whenever you meet anybody at the tip of your tongue. You always want to know more. So when you dress that up as to, well, gosh, how could an employer look for that? Or why would that be right for, an application or mentioning on my LinkedIn? You sell your authenticness around that hunger for information. You don't give up easily. You're always looking to achieve the outcome by finding a new solution. You're thirsty for information. So suddenly, you've got some, and we can obviously, there's a book and there's your profile itself that will expand on that. So suddenly you've gone from this sort of, but actually if I was to interview you about being curious, you could probably give me 10 examples about when you've done it, how you've done it, when you were at your best by doing it. You're here interviewing me, being curious about what I do and how I do it. So suddenly that one word, that one strength for you, we've got all these different practical ways to write about yourself with curiosity, but we've also got stories and demonstrations, because at Capfinity, where I work, we support organisations to recruit people on the basis of their strengths. So there's two elements to this. Is one, how do I know what my strengths are? And that's where people like yourself come in to help debriefs and profiles. But then, and writing up about, what that career could look like with those. But then the next step is, how do I sell myself at that interview? Well, when we're looking for strengths, we're looking for you to demonstrate and give us those stories. So once you then have your strengths, you need to then think about, what are your success stories with those strengths? Let's take growth again. Those two are quite well aligned, actually, aren't they? So, always are looking to increase your knowledge. So the curiosity is asking questions to get there, maybe to find out what to grow in, and then the growth is very much around, you know, your sort of personal growth. So you'd be able to give examples about all the different extra things that you do all the time in terms of your reading and your you know, the people that you interview, like myself. So, you know, you need stories and you need the descriptions. So both of those, because what can happen is you sell yourself on the back of the strengths, and in the strengths profile you'll have descriptions that would describe you and your curiosity and your growth. So you take those and you expand on them in a way that's right for you. So to give you ideas how to sell yourself using those. Well, if you think we give you maybe 3 bullet points on each, you've got 7 strengths, you've immediately got 21 bullet points that are genuine, your strengths in action, and what that could look like for future employers or your marketing bio. Yeah. But then I also, it's very much around, you know, that authenticity is the next step on, because you've now spoken about yourself or written about, you've now written about yourself and all your brilliant strengths in that LinkedIn profile or the personal statement. But then when it comes to the next step, you know, the interview or being able to sell yourself verbally, if you've done that in the right way on paper, you'll expand on that with your stories, give examples, rich examples. And what we're looking for in strengths-based work and recruitment is energy and motivation and recency of examples. So your strengths stories, and that's when, again, having a coach like yourselves really helps, because you can practice those stories as well. So I'll just pause there. So I've talked for a little while on that one topic, but fill in the gaps. Is there, you know, is there anything you'd like me more to expand on?
I think you've expressed it brilliantly. And to be honest with you, the other day I saw this article that you wrote about how you can introduce your strengths in your CVs. And I use a lot the strength profile with my clients. I really use it for career purposes. I use them for leadership purposes. But when you published that article, I thought I can use it for this, for the CV. And, you know, at times I review CVs on my clients, and I never thought about introducing the strength profile there. So it's incredible how many uses it has that we haven't thought about. And also it demonstrates with the fact that the strength profile has gone from a beautiful instrument with a more articulated instrument with the career section, which shows you all, you know, your possible career where you could actually fulfill your potential, and the potential section, which are very interrelated, but how you can practically use your unrealized strength also in a leadership position, because we never stop growing, do we?
No. No.
And I'm a growth fanatic.
We know, we're curious. So a couple of things to expand on that then is there are two ways I just want to point out here. Is one, it really, by doing this, it really starts to help sell strengths that maybe are more natural to you and you haven't appreciated.
Yes.
So whether you're young or, you know, in a transition, there'll be strengths in there. Let's say something like moral compass, humor, authenticity. It's just me. Yeah, you know, you find it hard to describe that, or you wouldn't naturally think about selling that to somebody as a strength. It's just who you are. The strengths profile gives you new language to start to describe hidden qualities or qualities that you've taken for granted, but now you know that they're actually, not everybody has those as strengths, that you can start to value them differently and sell them yourself. So I think that's one point. And then the other piece is that articulation is so difficult that, you know, I mean, I'm going to be very sort of stereotypical here, that somebody might say I'm good with people, or, you know, I get on well with others. And for a CV, you know, that's pretty dry, isn't it? It's not going to give you much information, whereas your strengths profile will tell you which of the 11 relating strengths are yours to own and sell and be authentic about. So whether it's connecting or rapport builder or relationship deepener, and you then talk about why people are important to you, or why, you know, all the things that you've achieved by those relating strengths, rather than just, you know, I'm good with people. So I think it really helps just bring sort of a sense of holisticness to that CV as well. It doesn't just need to be sort of formal. You can bring other things to that CV that are about you at your best. Because don't forget, when we think about going into an organization, you know, we're working with teams and people all the time. So, you know, things that you can do, not just I'm good with people or teams or collaboration, how do you do it? And just really appreciating what you've got to offer, and then being able to talk about that is really important as well. And then of course you can do things like use the career guide that comes with it, in terms of, you know, my strengths report suggests marketing's a really good fit for me because of, you know, I you know, because of these types of strengths. So and then
about marketing, I think, and in particular branding, which is such a hot topic all the time, you know, reflecting on your strengths, and also looking at your unrealized strengths, and maybe trying to bring them into the marketing sort of like boilerplate of all the things that you need to do, and, you know, all the things that you need to also communicate when you communicate with others on social media. It's so important. So the strengths are also so useful for branding yourself, because you don't want to brand something that you are not, or you're not good at. You want to brand, you know, the best of you. So yeah, it's incredible, because as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of more and more use of the strength profile. The
brand piece is a really big piece when it comes to leaders as well. So, you know, but also, as you say, what me at my best is what, you know, how would you describe that in 6 sentences, and then bringing your strengths to that play, you know. And I think it's important when it comes to careers, you don't need to be good at everything. You know, think about those, you know, what it is that really makes you unique, and focus on some of those strengths. Some of those other things that you've got in your profile, your learned behaviors, will help you do the job, no doubt about it. But where we want you to focus on very much, of course, are the realized strengths, because learned behaviors will help you, but you don't want to shape careers in that space. And most of the people that I've coached that are maybe sort of in that transition space later on in their life have probably spent 20 years in their learned behaviors. So a really important category to recognize as will help your career, but don't make it the magic in your career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very interesting reflection. And as we said in the previous interview, where we were talking about the why you need to understand yourself, and why do you need to, you know, understand your strength. And I think it's really, really important personally, and also for your career. Plus, I really do not believe that there is a separation of the self between life and career. We are the same, you know. So we use,
when you're selling your strengths, you're giving your future employer confidence, you're giving them future performance, future creativity, future diversity that they need in their organization. So always be confident when you're selling your strengths, you're selling what they need.
And also you're selling the fitting, because does someone with your strengths fits into the, you know, and it's important to understand, because if you are going into a team where, you know, the strength don't quite match and they're not complementary, you know, maybe there's too many people with growing curiosity, you know, maybe that could be an issue, you know, because that needs to be. And I think, you know, obviously from a team perspective, leveraging on different strengths and on having a true diversity and a true inclusive performing environment is essential.
Yeah. That's it. And when, you know, what we don't want in teams when you go into a new employment situation is everybody with the same strengths. We need the diversity of your strengths in that thing, you know. And often you find when people are recruiting for strengths, you often will select yourself out of that organization, because as you said, when you're talking about strengths, the culture is really important, that you get that culture right for you and the type of role and the type of organization it is as well. So there's quite a bit of matching going on when people are looking at strengths. So, you know, and in terms of practicing for a job interview, you know, strengths is harder, because actually when you look at competencies, I'm going to be saying to you, know, Annalise, tell me a time we did this, and tell me a time we did this, and tell me a time we did this, and you're going to go, yep, that's answer 7.2 on my practice list. You know, I did this, I did this, I did this. where strength is very different. You know, we're measuring energy and performance and motivation and use and body language. You know, we really want to see strengths, not competency. So that's harder to practice. The only way you can practice, find out what your strengths are. Okay, find out why they're important to you, and get those success stories in the back of your literature ready to demonstrate that your strengths, you know, what they look like in action.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that's incredibly helpful, and absolutely appreciate your help here. And the more I talk to you, the more I feel the enthusiasm and the energy that comes from actually leveraging on everyone's strength. Because at the end of the day, the Capfinity mission is to match everyone to the right job, right? Because we spend so much time in our work. We want to be the best of ourselves in our work. So thank you so much. I am going to include underneath this post, this video, your article on how to use your strength in your CV, so that people can read it. And thank you so much, Trudy. It's always amazing to talk to you. Informative, absolutely wonderful. So thanks, and very, very useful. Thanks so much for being here with me. And hopefully we'll catch up another time for another wonderful strength episodes.
Thank you.